Hello and welcome to Creative Minds Unpacked. In this podcast, I'll be seeking out stories, strategies and support for creative people who are neurodivergent or those who dare to think boldly. For my guests, this is a safe space to pick apart the complexities of life, a place to share lived experience of feeling or thinking differently. Now is the time to break out of boxes and unpack our minds as we move forward into a brand new world. Hi Vicky, thanks for coming today. Just a brief intro for you. Vicky is a registered dietitian and the founder of the Community Dietitian. She supports people in accessing evidence-based nutrition for weight management and metabolic health, with a particular interest in supporting individuals with ADHD to build sustainable eating patterns that support focus, mood, and energy. So, Vicky, who are you and what do you do? Tell us a bit more about you.
Oh, thanks, Kate. That's a nice little introduction, isn't it? As you mentioned, I'm a registered dietitian and I am the founder of the Community Dietitian. So I work with patients one-to-one, basically working through some of their health challenges and their health goals perhaps, but really taking into consideration some of their nuances around the challenges that might present. So yeah, I'm also, worked in the NHS and within acute hospital settings and different areas of practice. But yeah, this is where I am now.
Amazing. And do you want to tell us about, we've been friends a long time, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
And I love that we met by pulling our cars up at a festival side by side and then, however long ago, 25 years ago, and here we are.
Yeah.
But I know that you are diagnosed ADHD, and I wondered if you wanted to tell me a little bit about how that has been for you and your journey in discovery there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, yeah, I think back to around 20 years ago, and there was a cataclysmic, I'm going to use that word.
It's a good word.
Cataclysmic.
I don't think I can say that word.
No, well, and I think it is a great word to define this sort of period in my life when things were going absolutely haywire. From a mental health perspective, I would say relationships were being ruined, behaviours were crazy, but I had actually been diagnosed with premature ovarian insufficiency, which is premature menopause.
Yeah.
So even though this kind of feelings and actions, etc., now looking back, I'm like, how did I miss all of this? But it was shadowed by the fact that I'd had this quite traumatic diagnosis of early menopause. So that got the blame for everything.
Yeah, right.
Of course, this is why I'm being like this. This is why I find things a struggle. This is why I can't communicate. So
interesting.
Yeah. So fast forward 20 years, 22 and a bit years, and I basically find myself in a whole different town, a whole different relationship, really way more stable in terms of kind of my medication. Been on HRT and I'd been taking it really regularly, unlike the previous 20 years of like boom or bust. I always tell people I've been through the menopause 3 times because of my inconsistency with my approach to it.
Yeah.
But I'd been really stable with that. I was in a happy relationship. I mean, I've been in a happy relationship before, but but then I just found like Groundhog Day. The same issues were coming up for me, the same communication issues, the same emotional and mental health issues were coming up for me. So I did what I'd done before and sought out a counsellor and probably the 4th or 5th time I'd done that over that period. Because it was like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Literally, it was like Groundhog Day. And because it was a new relationship and a new town and a new situation, I was thinking, this can't be everybody and everything else.
Yeah, sure.
And I started to like look in. So anyway.
Sometimes it takes those things though before you can start to look in, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I'd been a big blamer of my circumstances. Unfortunately, I hold my hands up to that. But I was at counselling session number 5 and, wanting basically solutions, I think. But ultimately, everything was always just talk and, talk about the ACEs, the childhood trauma that I might have experienced. And yeah, okay, absolutely relevant.
Sure.
But there was something until one day I sat there and I just had this like light bulb moment. And I think I actually said, I feel like I'm just counselling my way out of being me.
Oh,
and it was,
wow, what a line.
It was like an absolute light bulb. And I sat there almost, the counsellor really got on, she was a really lovely woman. She was just like, right, yeah. And what does that feel like? And like, it's just in this moment made me feel extremely sad.
Yeah.
And I did feel really sad. And I just, from there, I thought, right, trip back to the doctors, get more antidepressants that I've been on for forever. And it's actually the doctor who said, have you considered that you might have a neurodivergency?
Yeah.
And again, I was like, no, but everyone else has, it's all their fault. Back into my normal mode.
Yeah.
And actually she said, take this home, have a consider, have a think about it. And I literally went through this questionnaire and I was like, oh, I didn't know that people have put down in words what I have been experiencing.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't even care whether I get a diagnosis of ADHD, but this is now resonated
it's just sort
with
of seeing it, isn't it?
Yeah. And
I totally relate to that.
So that's how my diagnosis come about. And obviously now we're learning so much more about how menopause affects.
Well, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
I didn't know.
Yeah, interesting.
Again, you don't know what you don't know, right?
No,
and so
exactly.
I had never put these two things together. It was going through the early menopause that got me interested in nutrition and hence then going on to become a dietitian.
Yeah.
And still I hadn't really connected the dots.
Yeah.
So,
because you lose the ability to mask with the menopause, don't you?
Yeah.
So everything can be a bit more crazy and, you're not holding it in the same ways that,
Absolutely.
That's why so many late diagnosed women is triggered by their menopause.
I'm finding it fascinating. Yeah, I'm finding it fascinating,
Yeah,
about, the fluctuation in those hormones.
Yeah.
I guess what was challenging for me, I was like, but I had those fluctuating hormones 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Why now?
Yeah.
And that's when I started to think this can't just be hormonal changes because I'm stabilizing myself, maybe. So, yeah, it's been really interesting. Of course, like a lot of people who are our age and find out, there's even more sadness attached to that.
Yeah.
What could have been.
There can be a real sense of grief, can't there?
Yeah. If I'd have only understood this about myself, if I'd have only understood this, because the difference is with a bit of maturity and experience and perhaps with understanding, I've been able to kind of go, okay, I'm not going to change me.
Yeah.
I'm going to find a system.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because that's the thing. We can't go back and, I think that's such an interesting subject about looking back and thinking, if I'd known then, how would that have affected my life? And I've always felt that probably had I been diagnosed when I was younger, I don't think I would have dealt with it very well, actually. And I don't think I would have achieved some of the stuff I've achieved, because I think it's different in the times we live in now because there's way more acceptance. But for me, in those times, or for you back then as well, you maybe wouldn't have been allowed to, express yourself or be more free with it, would you? So it would have been way more restrictive. Now I think it's a lot better and people are accepting that, we're all different and, it's a different world. But I think I'm very happy to be diagnosed now at a point where I'm, older and a little bit wiser, maybe.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I'm so relieved.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know how I would. I hadn't really thought about that either, about what I would have been like had I had a label, if you like. Yeah. In one, because it would have been so different generationally.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But also me as an individual, I hadn't really thought about that. But I did read, I did read my dad, bit off kilter here, but he started writing poetry. He was not a poet man.
I remember this.
But he started writing poetry and he wrote this one poem about me when I was 7. And one of the lines is, those little moods of woe and sadness, then just as quick she sings of gladness. And I'm like, well, that's my emotional dysregulation, Dad.
Wow.
And I'm like that now. Someone could say that about me now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just think, ooh.
That's a lovely way to put it as well, isn't it? You know? Yeah, the shift.
Although it would be slightly easier if it wasn't within the same minute.
Well, I mean, those are the things that we have to navigate, you know. That's like, for me, that can be like driving along and then suddenly flaring up, you know, because somebody's, you know, driving differently to me.
But that's true. I'm doing a mindfulness course at the moment, and it's all about, you know, giving kindness. And so when I do get that road rage, which I often do, and someone I can see bolting at the back of me, I'm like, yeah, send him some kindness.
I know. Absolutely. I think it brings a different perspective, which we need.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think it's good that now people are being diagnosed younger, and, you know, there's a way more understanding, and it's a better, we live in a better world around this subject, you know, that there's way more understanding and support and help, and, you know, people can navigate that a lot easier than we would have done, if, you know, back in those days, wouldn't we, really, you know?
I think that's it. I think people as well, the awareness is helping people to think, well, I don't need the diagnosis. Well, yeah, good job, because you can wait a long time for it.
Well, yeah.
So,
but
it's just, you know, to go, I
have just
a
that
different
awareness.
way of being.
Yeah, absolutely. And that acceptance, self-acceptance and acceptance of the world, isn't it? That actually I think differently, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and it's as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you about the labeling. You know, I use my labels, but, you know, I don't think we need them. And I think we're going to get to a place where there'll probably be a whole nother load of labels that we haven't even discovered yet, you know, because we're really on the tip of this iceberg of developing what's going on or what our brains are doing. But fundamentally, it is having a different way of thinking, isn't it? Yeah. A different way of processing information. That's the other key thing. A different way of, you know, navigating that.
Yeah.
And that's not a huge, you know, I think a huge thing to, I don't know. I think we'll explore that more, won't we? But
yeah, definitely. I thought about that the other day in the car. Like, I was thinking, maybe I don't feel like I have ADHD. I feel like I am an ADHD person.
Yes, I also am.
Do you?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether just because it's like the right thing to say, but that's actually how I feel.
It's what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always said I'm autistic. I'm ADHD. I think it's got to be what works for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's been the path to that day, or to that awareness, I guess, is feel like it's been long, but now I'm like, you know, like many other people say, it's like a huge relief.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it is like, and when I always remember that when I feel, just the other day I was with a group of friends I haven't seen for a little while, and the subject came up, nothing to do with me, it was somebody else saying about ADHD, and there was the typical like sort of, oh well, you know, everybody's got ADHD, you know, and I shrank again. I shrank again, and then I reminded myself what that relief felt like. Yeah. And I was like, actually, am I allowed to do that? But
you know, and I mean, as there is a huge understanding, a bigger understanding, there's also, we've got so much work to do, haven't we? Yeah. You know, because people don't fully understand. People, you know, I think lived experience really helps us to understand, you know, because we've had no choice, you know, but I think if you haven't experienced some of the things that are associated with being neurodivergent, you know, it's harder to understand, isn't it? And,
absolutely.
You know, have empathy maybe, you know, towards that.
Especially when everyone's so different.
Exactly.
They're diverse, you know, and, you know, there isn't that one.
And there's all other layers, like, you know, trauma or different things that can come into who we are, you know, genetics and all sorts of things.
Definitely.
Yeah, I feel like this is a time to slightly angle into, we want to have a little bit of a deep dive into philosophy on this podcast. And I feel like this is a good time to move slightly into the subject of boxes, because I think it's something we've talked about. And, you know, is it time as a society that we are moving out of boxes? Because this feels like a big part of this. Life's changing. You know, personally, I'm more able to speak out about things or ask for things in a different way, which is really liberating, you know, where we've been quite restricted. And I wondered about your thoughts on boxes, Vic.
I'll tell you where I do love a box. Right next to my tick list, of which I have many.
Do you? I don't like those.
Oh, do you not?
I just like to freestyle a tick.
Do you? No, I like to put it in a box. I put it in a box. That is done.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, that's where boxes come in useful. I don't know what I think about boxes because I earlier on my way here, I was thinking about this sort of, being in a box or putting people in boxes. And I was thinking about the analogy of the IKEA Hallex cubed storage, which,
classic storage.
Classic storage. And
it's never dates.
No, never dates. But it is diverse. And, and it's got multiple uses. And so if you want to, you could, I guess what analogy I was trying to think of is, boxes are useful, but we can think outside the box, or we can put additional boxes in the box. And it's like, people use those things for decorative reasons. If you're a DJ, it's your holy grail for your record.
Perfect record
you
size.
Might use it as a sideboard. You might use it to put your knickknacks on all your books, whatever. And
I like those staggered ones that go up, so you could have like a plant hanging over or something, I'm quite drawn to
or
those.
even like being like breaking up a kitchen diner. Oh, lovely. But I think that's how I think about boxes in a way. It's like they serve a purpose, but that purpose is different for everybody.
Yeah.
And we need to be mindful of that it's not just going to be a record storage unit. That's not what it's
not like
for.
one size fits all, is it?
You can even get it in an ash grey if you want. It's like,
I love an ash grey. My favourite.
So I just, that was kind of it from a point of view of like, I don't mind being in a box of sorts, but I don't want you to close the lid on me.
No, sure.
I think with ADHD, I think it's great that we are talking about neurodivergencies. What do people need? We're communicating like never before around our needs, and that has got to be a good thing.
I mean, it's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Just the ability to feel safe to ask for something you need.
Yeah.
Where perhaps before you would have thought, I can't do it. I can't possibly reveal that I need help.
Yeah.
And
that's a really interesting one, because I thought about this in my workplaces when I have worked in a workplace. I haven't really divulged in any kind of, need-based assessment that I have ADHD. And that comes from a perspective of like, for me, in most places like that, it isn't something that I feel is a disability to me, because I've found strategies and ways to work around it. But as soon as, or if in those instances, or if I'm talking to other people, it is holding me back from reaching my potential in that job or that workplace or whatever, I'd be the first to say, I need to be transparent. So it's really interesting that there are places where I definitely have to talk, be much more transparent and put myself out there, relationships, because otherwise there would be. But I feel that in other situations I'm able to, I don't need, and it's not because of judgment or because of maybe there is an element of like misunderstanding from others, so perhaps we've got a long way to go from that.
And do you mean like in a professional environment, for instance?
Okay. I think there's a lot of box ticking.
I mean, I think we probably all naturally feel that we have to perform in a certain way, don't we? Everybody, even if you just compared that whole thing of the imposter syndrome thing, that comes into all of us, doesn't it? Regardless of how our brains work.
Well, work
is that layer as well, isn't there?
Work is a performance.
Well, it is.
Many people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Many things are a performance. Sometimes being with family at a Sunday roast is a performance,
But
and I think that's just being a human, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's probably why I've chosen to be freelance for the majority of my life, because I'm aware of that space. I can be that in that space. I'm doing things in more of a free way that works for me. But I do find more and more that I am saying to people, especially with I don't know, whether that's big bits of text or the way somebody might say something, I now, rather than go, I don't know how I can do this, and get really, really anxious about it and stressed, I can now say, do you know what? There's too many words there. Can you just simplify that for me? Or could you please be clear about what you're trying to say? And I've got no qualms with saying that now. And for me, that's a revolution, really. It's absolutely changed the way that I work. and like you say, not only, but with your personal relationships as well. And, you know,
Yeah, no,
it's
definitely.
interesting, isn't it?
It is. And I think one of mine is I'm very enthusiastic.
Yes.
I'm very, I want to do it all.
Yeah.
And I take on a lot. And I think that's kind of been a big change for me. I'm aware of my own, I'm still not aware of time or days of the week or hours of the day or minutes in an hour.
Okay. That's
but
okay.
I am aware.
We're different.
Yeah.
You think differently about it.
But I am aware of, kind of what I take on, what I'm enthusiastic about.
Yeah.
And
what not to take too much on, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That can be quite an overwhelming thing for an ADHD brain, can't it?
Absolutely.
Very much so.
So I guess it's just that being able to rain check that, being able to say, and I think, I don't know whether it's from getting burnt doing that, the amount of times I've kind of sat and gone, oh my God, I've got loads of people that I'm letting down right now because I've tried to do something good and help them, but actually now I'm not helping them. And, and then for me, that is paralysis zone. Nothing gets done. Yeah. Nothing gets done until someone rings me and says, it's okay, don't worry. Yeah. And I realise I've just been like
overanalyzing it probably. It's all part of that journey, isn't it, of learning, where the things that can take you into those places, whether it's a meltdown or complete overwhelm, and what are the causes of that. And I think it's really important to try and identify those, which I think comes with exploring the diagnosis, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I would never have I guess I always had my reason. My hormones. Yeah. Oh, it's my hormones. It's because of this. Of course. Oh, if it was a big traumatic thing, it might be, I'm never gonna, I'm not gonna have children. Maybe years ago, or that might have been it. And then more so now is like, oh well, it's because I'm on age. You look through it, but now I know, as you mentioned, explore and be curious. Yeah. What's happening here? Yeah. What am I feeling? Yeah. What am I saying? What am I doing? What have I took on? And then I feel like you can what's the word, I sort of kind of strategize and think, okay, this has happened before, right? Okay, what needs attention? And I think I do come at things like that now, and that's enabled me to come up with workarounds. Workarounds or things that work for me.
Strategies are really quite important, aren't they? I think.
They are.
And you mentioned curiosity, and I heard a lovely thing recently, which was, I can't remember where I saw it or who it was, but I think it was probably some psychologist or something saying that ADHD brains are not, we've got all these negative words attached, haven't we? Deficit, etc. It's not a deficit. It's people with ADHD, even though the D's are there, are just excessively curious. And I love that, because I think that is true. And if you think about, the people that and certainly, for me working in the arts, or, I know a lot of people that are, around that, in that zone, and that curiosity is there, isn't it? And I think like you and I as well, exploring festivals and being into music in a big way, as we were when we were younger and still are, it's that curiosity, isn't it? And I think it's interesting how that curiosity brings us to each other in some ways, you know? I know you mentioned earlier about being attracted to people that are a similar brain type, that was something you mentioned, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, and I think it comes down to that word again, curiosity. Yeah. Like, I really notice when people are not curious about other people. I really do. And I think that, curious about, so I've always been curious about other people, but now I'm curious about myself. And I think, curiosity is one of my favourite words.
It's a great word, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
And I think it's probably the elixir of like happiness, in a way, of being, you lose the curiosity. Yeah. Being interested in people or things or the world around us. And, I just think...
if you just shut all that out, then, what are you left with? Yeah. Not a lot, really, are you? Yeah. I mean, there is a big world out there and lots of exciting things going on. And if we, we could easily miss them, couldn't we? Yeah. It's that thing again about you only know what you know, isn't it? Which we've touched on earlier, I think. Yeah. it would be interesting to see how some of the neurodivergences get, the words or the language around it changes maybe as we progress through this, you know, and I would much rather be called ultra curious than have a deficit, you know, or, recently a poor timekeeper. Like, I don't really want to be called poor anything. I think, actually I'm just a different timekeeper, you know. Do you feel like that now you're sort of pushing outside of these boundaries that maybe have been restrictive over the years and growing up, that you're received in a different way? Do you think you can sort of sense that people maybe respond to you differently?
I think in relationships, it's because I'm much more communicative, but I'm also much more myself. So I guess I don't know whether things show up because I'm able to name them and put them out there. Or whether I just have an understanding partner, I'm not sure. But they just, they certainly, it's different because it used to be just frustrating. Whereas now it's frustrating a little bit, but it's like, what are we going to do about it?
You've got a bit of accountability for yourself, I suppose. Yeah,
absolutely.
Which we all need in life, don't we?
In work, as a freelancer, and in the work that I do as the community dietitian, absolutely. Because I can just be myself. Because I'm working with people with neurodivergency, we're able to have that conversation. I'm meeting people where they are. And I feel like I can be completely honest with where I am as well. And it works. It works beautifully. And I think, again, it's that curiosity, understanding, respect. So in that way, yes. But unfortunately, as for many people, in many other ways, sometimes not.
Sure. I guess, like you say, you've got a long way to go. And I was thinking, you've just touched on it then with your work and how you probably have a lot of people that, that come into your work who are neurodivergent. And, I know I always think that eating myself and my own eating it's not really great. It's an area that I struggle in. I don't really enjoy thinking about cooking. I don't enjoy cooking, full stop. I love eating, don't get me wrong. Like, if, very happy if, food is given to me. I'm very happy. But, I think it's quite, it can be quite an issue for people with neurodivergence, especially around ADHD and like executive functioning and things. It can be quite difficult. And I also think that as a creative and with people working in the creative industries, you're quite often working mega long hours. You might be on the huff, you might be rushing around, trying to do a million things. And you tend to just maybe stop and eat a sandwich on the go, or, some crisps, or just stuff that's not really that good for you, And I just, I'm interested to know a bit more about, like, how it works for you with work and any kind of thoughts around that, really, any sort of strategies to improve people's general well-being around, eating and putting better stuff inside us, because surely that's got to have a reverberation, hasn't it? And, help us in the long run.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I can tell you what it definitely isn't, and that's a meal plan. That is like the last thing that I would ever do, and it makes me kind of tingle because I just need a meal plan. I'm thinking, you really don't.
No,
but no, you're absolutely
right. Break that massively.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, maybe for the first morning, maybe it would work, and then I think it would be out the window. But not for everybody. Again, I think the key for me is really understanding who, the person and what are their challenges, because obviously different people have different challenges. Me personally, love food and love eating. I'm with you on that one. So much so that I decided to talk about it all day in my job as well.
Yes, absolutely.
But I actually find, and I have come across many neurodivergent people who find cooking actually kind of quite relaxing.
Right.
For me,
focus on it, I suppose.
Recognise the focus. That because I've got things that I need to concentrate on. Actually, the other noise kind of does go away. So actually I find it relaxing. However, that doesn't mean, I love cooking every night and I'm absolutely fantastic at having, a perfect diet. No one's got a perfect diet anyway, but we don't know what one is. But I think it's factoring in, what is the challenge? Is it the boom or bust way of eating? Is it the the scheduling for a lot of creatives as well. You know, it might be a piece of work comes in, you got to go hell to leather to get it done, and then there's no work for a little while, or the nighttime industry. So I guess it's thinking then what is the challenge to kind of helping and supporting a diet that then helps and supports our brain function. So that's key to me, first of all, is knowing the person. There is no one...
It's going to be all completely individual, isn't it?
There is no one size fits all. No one wants a one size fits all anyway, but there is no one size fits all. And I guess it's being really interested in, you know, what the kind of biology, what's going on from a biology point of view and a behaviour point of view. And we absolutely know that the more well-nourished that we are, the better we're going to function physically. If we are at risk of different ailments or different diseases, then it's going to hold us back, make us feel unwell. So I think that depends on where someone's coming from and what their aims and objectives are. But I think, like you mentioned, often it's the executive function of not being able to put a meal together, not having the food in the cupboards, not wanting or enjoying the process of making food. So first of all, I think I often come at things like, look at it like the structure of a house, you know. No point in buying the soft furnishings if you haven't dug the foundations, you know. So I think that from a nutrition point of view, that's where I always kind of look, how can we support a regular eating pattern? And that does not have to be balanced eating initially, where you know, meeting somebody where they're at. So it's thinking about what someone's perhaps cooking or catering skills are, you know. Can we think about convenience, quick, emergency type foods that are still nutritious, or maybe initially not? You know, I don't think we have to be perfect straight away. I think it's a small step.
Maybe we give ourselves too much of a hard time sometimes.
Absolutely. And we live in this world. I mean, gosh, I probably don't sound like a great dietitian right now, but I tell everybody this, and I hope that it's just from a place of forgiveness. Is like, the world is just full of absolute nutrition wonk, you know, and people feeling like they have to be nailing this optimal nutrition program. We don't. You're gonna be all right. Even, you know, but we're taking the steps towards improving things. So it might be kind of getting into that structure of starting the day with something. It could be anything, but it's thinking what's available to you, what's convenient. Is it a porridge pot that I put the thing into that I can be portable, or is it something that I can make at home that I really enjoy? You know, so it's meeting people where they are first and foremost, trying to establish that more regular eating pattern. I think we know it's going to fuel the day. We know it's going to fuel the brain. We know it's going to help with cognition, thinking, focus, mood regulation. So I think that's always my initial go-to. Then we start building the bricks. Then we start putting the bricks and the windows and the roof on. And that's then like balancing that diet out with nutrition and thinking about how we make up the nutrition diet. Think about all of the, you know, the macronutrients like the protein, the carbohydrate, the fibre, because they're all going to come together synergistically. Oh, another great word.
It was very good. I don't think I would have said that in one breath.
You know, bringing things together. But again, this might be convenient still. Stuff that, you know, perhaps some of our, you know, I don't know, some people might scoff at. You know, tinned vegetables, tinned fruit, frozen veg, some convenience food. Again, we're working. I just kind of constantly bringing people back to the light. It's work in progress. And a lot of people I work with find that when they action some of these small wins, they get an amazing amount of satisfaction.
Well, I guess that's it, small wins. I mean, that's a crucial thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
For everybody, really.
And that it's okay that we're consistently inconsistent and that it goes off the boil for a week.
You're
not going to, you know, it's, I think it's permission, isn't it? A permission for that to be, you know, that, okay, we can do our best most of the time, I guess.
Yeah. Well, because I suppose I was just thinking about like maybe people who are autistic or people who need more rigid routines, for instance. You get some people also with the texture issues and things. So it might be that there are some people that need to eat the same foods every day almost because that's a safe place, you know. So I always find that quite an interesting space as well. And, you know, how do you sort of try and bring in, you know, healthier things to that, you know?
Yeah, and I guess that's about exploration and some of that desensitization work around, you know, and sort of expectations. I definitely are thinking of a client that I worked with who had quite limited foods and had texture issues, and actually also had some gut health issues. There was quite a lot to work with, but actually when we looked at the quality of her diet, even though it was very samey, very similar, actually, because she was eating sort of fairly sort of whole and natural foods, although perhaps not on a plate that people would deem to be a put together meal, if you like. And again, that's another thing, isn't it? Our expectations. Oh, couldn't possibly have that.
Yes, absolutely. It's got to be like something with something else, or, you know, whatever it would be.
Yeah.
Same eat too much, but that's like going back, isn't it? But that's saying
broccoli with lasagna. And I'm like, well,
right,
why not? Salad.
Why not, though?
Has it, you know?
And again, that comes back to that framework, doesn't it, really? Yeah.
It's like, you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and actually when we looked and did a bit of a dietary analysis, which I don't, again, not something I do regularly, you know, I think that it was just to show, actually, this is quite an adequate diet. We looked at, you know, kind of recommendations were, don't stop doing what you're doing, but let's work on getting some variety in if that was that person's examples. So I think that often people are coming to me because they want a more balanced diet. Yeah. So that there is a motivator, and they might have different people's obviously might have different motivating reasons. Maybe an illness in the family, or maybe a diagnosis, or they've gone to the doctor, they've got high cholesterol, whatever it might be. So we can do the education part, obviously, like these are the reasons, and a lot of people already know that before they come to me. But we might talk about that. But it's then the doing. What is the doing part? What needs to happen, and what is getting in the way? And not trying to change the person, just as I didn't want to be changed. Most people don't want to change. We want to find strategies that work for us. So I think looking at habits, I am a lover of, you know, looking at what our habits and what we can tap on to those habits. You know, what are the things that somebody already does, like brush their teeth every morning, you know, can we tack that on to aligning it with the breakfast, so we brush our teeth after we've eaten, and trying to match things together a little bit. And also a guy I work with coined the phrase the habit before the habit. What's the thing that happened, you know, what needs to, if we're not eating breakfast because we actually don't have anything in, then the goal isn't let's start eating breakfast, it's put it on, you know, when do we go to the shops? Do we have a list? Do we have a plan? Would that work for us? So it's helping to break it, keep breaking it down to what needs to genuinely happen. And 9.9% of the times it's got nothing to do with food.
Because it might be that people have a barrier with going to the shops, for instance. Because I mean, I absolutely hate going to the supermarkets, and I'll avoid it like the plague, you know, but I'd much rather go to a smaller, you know, mini supermarket kind of thing, or whatever, a smaller shop, you know. But sometimes that means you don't always have lots of stuff in, doesn't it? Because if you try and avoid that, and there might be people that can't actually, you know, step over that and can't actually go to the shops, you know. So
absolutely,
and it's other barriers in other places, isn't it?
Other barriers in other places. Sometimes those barriers are people, and sometimes they're things. Sometimes, so it really is. It feels like I feel like I'm a gardener. You know, I'm just like dig some more. Let's keep digging until we see our foundations.
Right. I hadn't even thought about it.
I just linked that up. No, I didn't even think of that myself. But you know, that's how it feels. You know, and then let's work it back up. And that seems to be a lot more effective. And I guess, you know, the trajectory is trying to help and support people to ensure that they are getting the balance that's going to help to alleviate the symptoms that are in line with their neurodivergency. So our mood regulation, which is massively impacted by our blood glucose throughout the day. So if we're missing meals, and that's going to be impacted. About our energy levels, so thinking about some of our B vitamins from whole grains and other foods, thinking about iron and omega-3 and vitamin D. There are nutrients that we know can have, similar symptoms if we're not having a balanced diet.
Okay.
So, but without the foundations, these are the soft furnishings, because it is difficult to get the balance of these nutrients if we're not eating regularly.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, wow.
Sure.
So I think social media at the moment, is really challenging because there's so many focus on specific nutrients, but actually, and for an ADHD person, I mean, I am a marketer's dream. Well, I am, I'm like, yes, if it says it can do it, it can do it. I've got all the shampoos, I've got it all. But I guess, and just, I think the health environment, lots of people are health conscious, amazing.
Yeah.
But I think we do forget the foundations.
Yeah, absolutely. And also something that springs to mind is I wonder, how many neurodivergent people struggle with their tummies, with IBS or various stomach related things, and that you must come across that probably quite a lot. Right? I wonder if that's why people might come to you, perhaps.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
gut health and stuff.
So I do. So I trained in sort of an area of IBS, sort of dietary intervention. But I think certainly we're definitely acknowledging more and more that actually our gut-brain axis is responsible for a lot of our functional gut disorders, like IBS or kind of constipation or gut.
There's a direct link, isn't there, with like anxiety and stress and
absolutely. So during COVID time, I did I used to do an IBS clinic where I'd phone up some of our patients, and actually it was almost, I remember doing an IBS clinic, and then it was like, wow, just all these patients that were really sort of suffering, and things didn't seem to be getting better no matter what intervention I put forward, and seemed to be doing really well. Not at work, furloughed. Not worrying about financial or having to deal with colleagues they didn't want to deal with, or be in their boxes of work that they needed to be in. It was astonishing.
I had that experience myself because I suffer with IBS, and in the first COVID year, I had no symptoms whatsoever. I was having a jolly, lying in the garden, having a great time. But normally, as a producer, like manic times, and always suffering, especially over the summer when I was in festival season. Like tummy would be awful. You're again eating not very good anyway, and all that stuff. I noticed such a difference.
Absolutely,
it's so interesting.
So no, absolutely. And so I did think, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to retrain in like gut-directed hypnotherapy or something. But actually, what we now know is that both things, both nutrition and things that help to relax that gut-brain axis, that central nervous system, are equally as important. So it's getting all of those found out. And of course, this other exciting world of gut microbiome, and all of the things. I mean, the evidence is still really kind of new in terms of how much in terms of kind of things we can do to improve our gut microbiome, of course. But the biggest thing is having a healthy, balanced diet. So no amount of supplements or probiotics or, kefir and sauerkraut, although wonderful, not without the foundation of a regular, sort of balanced diet.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be, we know that the gut bacteria is important for like immunity, and but we now also know that the gut microbiome affects the brain, and the brain affects the gut microbiome. So it stands to reason why at times of sort of stress and that's going to impact our gut microbiome as well. And that we need to find ways and strategies to manage that. And I think that's also been a learning for me personally, I know that if I'm doing relaxation techniques, whatever they might be, and if I'm sleeping well, if I'm exercising, I mean, I'm not one of the world's natural exercisers.
neither
Don't go,
am
whoa, yeah, get me out there. But I also do know that it is a really great tonic for me.
Yeah.
So I think that those things are equally as important as well.
So there's some sort of like a symbiotic response, really.
Definitely.
Which, you know,
Definitely. Especially sleep as well.
Definitely. Yeah. And do you really find that when people are maybe tackling all these aspects that their general well-being and maybe gut health and everything improves?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the feeling of the feeling of elation of doing something that they set out to do gives an enormous sense of achievement. That's what I see a lot. Underrated.
Sometimes it can just be that, can't it? Almost. With a
well
lot of things.
Well done, me.
Yeah.
I actually, just thinking back to before diagnosis, I had a colleague, I didn't know her very long, with a big age gap between us, but really got on great. And one day she said to me, are you okay? Everything all right? And it actually wasn't. Things weren't that great at home, and I was having a few issues, and I was like, well, yeah, you say, yeah, I'm all right. She went, sure? And I said, what did you ask? And she went, I always know when you're not great because you never bring in food from home. And it really, I was like, she's so right. Like everything goes out the window.
Yeah.
And I know when things are going well because I am nourishing myself well.
Yeah, okay.
And that gives me an enormous sense of satisfaction, and that's what I see in other people as well.
Yeah.
But you're also going to see, an increase in energy, a sort of feeling of well-being, perhaps a bit more clarity, a bit more focus, a bit more desire and motivation, and all those other factors that feeding ourselves well
absolutely
plays into. But I do think that we underestimate or underrate the feeling of like nourishing ourselves.
Yeah. Sometimes that can be water as well, can't it? I mean, I'm a nightmare for not really drinking enough water. And then sometimes I think, God, I feel, quite unwell. And then I realise I probably haven't drunk any water, and I get a couple of glasses of water in and it can be an immediate, revitalisation.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it is just small wins. You mentioned the small wins, but that really resonated. And I thought, small wins are really, really, that's quite an important thing, isn't it? Because we give ourselves grief a lot of the time for not achieving maybe, a whole list of things or all these things we're, maybe supposed to do or whatever. But actually just a small win sometimes. I try and do daily small wins, and it can be just the most simplest thing,
Yeah.
Answering an email, anything. Well done you for a small win today, And I think that's really important, and that probably relates to eating and such, or, to looking after our general body and health in a big way, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then I guess it's a bit like, what's it, Pavlov's dogs? Is that what it is? I'd always think about, the small wins make you then feel better.
Yes.
So you repeat them.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you repeat them again. And then next thing you know, this is a thing you do.
Yeah.
I have breakfast.
Yes, sure.
I drink water. Sure. And usually, not every day, because like today, I didn't bring my water bottle, which is unusual. But, but most days, I'll get my 2 litres in. Might even have a couple of cups of tea, and it becomes the norm for you.
Yeah.
And then you've got space to kind of it not be something that you rubbish at and beat yourself up.
Yeah. Well, and it's celebrating those smaller things rather than the big things, isn't it? Because big things are way much harder to achieve.
Yeah.
If you pile it on yourself and feel the pressure,
and also
less likely to.
Especially in like nutrition as well. It's I can hear people go, I'm not getting enough this, I'm not getting enough that. I need to do this. Should I be taking collagen? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Should I be doing this? And you just think it's a lot. It's a lot to worry about all of those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Possibly can lead to some levels of disordered eating as well for some people.
Yes, indeed.
So it's trying to bring it back to wherever we are right now. If we're interested in nutrition or wellness or drinking more or exercising more, then great, because whatever you do next is going to be a small win. And it's going to be in the right direction, and we can work on consistency, what that might look like for that person. And we can also go, it might not be consistent, and
maybe that's not, work out whether that's the strategy for you or not,
Yeah.
you mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, would you think that, so if you had to say like a couple of basic things that you could give, it's probably a really big question,
No,
isn't it?
it's fine.
But, if you had to say a couple of basic things that could help, most people to just be better, take better care of themselves in that way. What have you got any sort of tips there maybe?
Yeah. So I guess if from a nutrition perspective, I guess it's like trying to establish a regular eating pattern. I guess is a big one, but not aiming for it to be perfect every day.
Okay.
I'm always going to caveat that. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
if that's not where you are. So just trying to establish a regular.
So setting realistic goals.
Setting realistic things and believing in it, really wanting to do it. Yeah. And perhaps thinking about the regular eating, and then also thinking, I guess, about that balance of the nutrition and thinking about our main factors. So trying to build our plate around a protein source or and a whole grain or carbohydrate source, and then the sort of vegetables and things. So and it might not look like that every day. It might be out of a tin. It might be a convenience food.
Yeah.
If that's where you are, that's where you are.
Yeah.
And staying hydrated, kind of carrying a bottle. I know you've got yours with you today, carrying a bottle around, maybe even setting reminders, using alarms, using other people. Often I've found other people are really generous when you're trying to change a habit in supporting you. So whether that's your colleagues, etc.
Yeah.
I think
what, to get reminders from them, you mean, or like and
support
you,
to do. Like I know, for instance, my partner puts a pint in the morning. He puts a pint next to my keys, and actually I like, I get thirsty actually, and I'll do that. I've got multiple bottles, just and setting reminders, to drink, especially if you work in an environment where it isn't easy to do that. So I think regular eating pattern to balance that nutrition over the course of the day, aiming to be mindful about the key bits of nutrition that we want to get in. Hydration, absolutely. Also sleep is massive impact on appetite and nutrition, both suppression of appetite and an increase in hunger. So I guess it's thinking about how that works for you as an individual and how we try to establish a kind of good sleeping routine, which does have a massive impact on nutrition overall. And of course, we're coming up to the spring and summer of getting outside as well. So getting that vitamin D that we synthesize in our skin, and exercise, and just all of the evidence around getting out in green spaces. So I think
it becomes a bit easier, doesn't it, when certainly when the sun's shining and we all feel a bit happier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think again is perhaps being mindful that we don't have to get it right. I mean, we couldn't have expressed that anymore in the past time that we've been talking. But but maybe being, what's the word? Thinking about what is it that I need to do if I want to be better at taking a lunch into work. Then working backwards. I always just keep digging. What is it that needs to happen? So I need to get the stuff in. Where am I going to get it from? What am I going to take? Do I have a lunchbox? What's going to stop me from taking it?
And sure.
On that first day that you take your lunch in, have a little celebration.
Yes, absolutely. So what could you say to me then, who's the terrible, I haven't got any food with me today and I've got to go and I'm going to one job to another and I'm going to have to stop at the garage and pick up another sandwich. I suppose buy fruit or maybe have things like that instead is one way I can do, but any quick tip for me there?
I guess if this is something that happens to you all the time.
Not all the time. It's something I'm always thinking, I'm here again, and I'm not prepared and I need to get something. So, I try and bring it down on the fat content and, then I look at all the sandwich choices and I think, none of them are any good really. And, then I get into this stress of so I might buy some fruit and that's fine, but then I might need something else.
What would you have preferred to have done? What would be your...
I guess I would have preferred to have taken some lunch with me. Okay. And on the rare days that I do that, I'm always, like you say, I do, well done.
Check me out.
I've got a packed lunch,
I haven't just spent £5 on a sandwich that's got no filling in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or have a soup or something. I'm quite a soup person.
So what stops you from getting that food?
Yeah, I guess that's it, isn't it? So I guess it comes back to actually, doing a decent shop and getting in things that I can make lunches with and considering that rather than just think, oh, I'll get the same things,
But what stops you from doing that, Kate?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't like the shops you mentioned earlier.
No, I don't like going to the shops. I find the whole experience quite overwhelming.
Are there any other options open to you that involve you not going to the shop?
I can't think of any.
Would you ever consider delivery?
Oh, what with the shopping, you mean? Yes, I do actually, and I have done it once or twice, but I don't do it, so maybe that is something I need to consider and get some better things in, or actually trying to make an effort, because I can cook, it's just that I don't enjoy it. But maybe something like soups, which I'm really into, I think that would be a good way for me, because I love soup. I'm really into soup, and making a big pot of soup I think is something I absolutely can do.
Okay.
So perhaps that is a good way for me as well.
When would you do that?
Oh, I don't know, that's it, because it's finding that time, isn't it? Do I do that a few days before, on a weekend? I tend to be busy on the weekends, because that might be where a lot of my work could be as well. So yeah.
So it's maybe pinpointing.
Or salads as well is another good way for me.
Pinpointing a time that in your week that you've got coming up where you would make this soup.
So diarising it then. Diarising cooking. Oh my gosh.
Diarising, alarming, maybe letting a relative or a loved one know that that's what you're planning to do, so they can give you a nudge if that works for you, but it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, no, not really. I don't think so. I'll go the other way.
You've told me to do it, so I'm not.
Yeah, sure.
So absolutely. So it's digging. See what I mean? It's like digging.
Yeah, where are the barriers?
Where are the barriers, and what can you do different? Not to say that what comes up might be the winning formula.
Yeah.
But it's a strategy to trial and consider.
Yeah.
I guess we know that if we can either consider making better choices in the moment, and that might be around knowledge or which I'm sure you have, but might be just about what is the better choice for me in that time.
Yeah.
So that I can go, well, I didn't go to McDonald's, or I didn't go to the chip shop.
Yeah,
I bought a cheese sandwich,
Sure. So I'm pretty good at having barriers around, I have got some levels. Well, I'm definitely going to try and implement those as I come into the busier work season.
Get your trowel out, do some
digging down below.
And I want to see this lunchbox with a sandwich in it.
Yeah, or some olives or something. Yeah. Oh, well, I think we're going to sort of wrap up, I think, now. Is there anywhere that if people want to ask you some questions, is there anywhere that I can send people to explore more about what you do, Vic?
Yeah, I have got social media. I'm not that great at posting on it at the moment, but if you look at the Community Dietitian, there is a Facebook which needs some work. I'm on LinkedIn, but actually what would be best is I have a website, thecommunitydietitian.co.uk, and there's a space there that you can contact me and send me a message if you've got any queries or questions, or if you want to work with me. So yeah, I'm more than happy.
Amazing. And then maybe we can share a few links about your work as well on our website and on our platforms. Not our website, we haven't got a website, on our platforms.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for coming down today and for, talking about how it is for you and your journey. I think it's not always easy for everyone to talk about their own journeys. So, we really appreciate you coming and being really open about that, and hopefully offering a few tips and a few things for people to think about as they go on their own journeys. So thanks so much, Vicky.
Oh, no, it's really lovely. Thanks, Kate.
Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to this today. If you feel you're a bold thinker, have unique stories or helpful tips and strategies to help others, please get in touch with the Creative Minds Unpacked team. We would love to hear from you.